Hello everyone, my name is David and I'm very happy to make this video today in collaboration with the RC Racer. We're gonna do an unboxing of one of the most exclusive Tamiya cars in existence. But before we do it, I will show you some cars that directly or indirectly led to the creation of that car. As you know, the very first RC car Tamiya made was a Porsche 934. It dates back from, I think, 1976, and it hit a stir when it arrived on the market. If you look at the car, I'm really sorry, but I don't have a built version of it. But if you look at this one, you'll know what it must have looked like. It was basically a plastic model kit with all the accessories to make it really a scale driving car. And it had a tiny motor. With the motor, the speed was about 15 kilometers per hour maximum. But it was so interesting that it was sold massively. At one time, Tamiya even made a special commemorative model because they sold 100,000 kits of this. This actual kit was signed by Mr. Tamiya, you see it over here. And the old guy next to Mr. Tamiya, it's me. It was at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, but it's just an anecdote. Tamiya continued to make cars. They made mainly road cars, Ferraris, Porsches, other kits. But then suddenly in '79, they made this. And this was just as interesting as the Porsche 934 was. It was the very first off-road car that was built. It was called the Rough Rider, released in 1979. And it was interesting because it looked like a Baja buggy, which was very popular in that time. But it also had a completely plastic radio box. So you could drive with this car through water, through mud, everywhere. And it really looked very good. Of course, the suspension was not that great, but people didn't bother because there was nothing else. In '85 or so, Tamiya made another big hit with the Wild One. This was car number 50. So between 76 and 85, they made 50 cars. It had a better suspension, front and rear suspension, but it still had its scale looks and a driver figure. And it was very popular, but it wasn't up to the challenge of the American and other companies who made very popular and fast RC cars, because around that period also the IFMAR world started. Tamiya made its first attempt to create a great car which was able to compete with the other brands, and it was the Avante. It was number 72 and made in 1988. The Avante was basically a supercar, super engineered, double-deck FRP frame, oil dampers, which were in aluminium. You had all these aluminium ball joints and stuff like that. And it was also the very first car for which you could buy loads of hop-ups. The Tamiya hop-ups, they started with the Avante. You could buy different dampers, steering system. What else? There was a carbon frame you could buy, different wheels, different tires. By the end, all the options, they cost way more than the car itself. But still, it wasn't a good car on the track because it was a bit too ill handling. Tamiya later also released the Egress, which was basically the same car as the Avante, but much improved. So it already had carbon fiber. It had the big bore high capacity dampers. It had no motor, but you could use a Dynatec motor in it. Better wheels, lightweight wheels. It also had titanium screws all around. So this was basically one of the very first attempts they made to make a really professional car with carbon, aluminium and titanium. And it was also released around 89, I think. The two-wheel drive variant of this car was the Astute. This Astute has some options. It has high cap dampers, front and rear, and also universals, but it was a thing of beauty. Many people still consider it as one of the best looking two-wheel drive buggies ever made. What is interesting to note is that the Avante was also the first two-wheel drive buggy with which Tamiya raced, and they also started the TRF Tamiya Racing Factory back then with the Astute, sorry. And then suddenly TRF, they started making even cars that were even developed especially for the competition, because up till now all these cars, they weren't made for the competition, but they were leisure cars that you could use in racing. And Tamiya made the Trf211x. If you look at these decals, you see that those are the very first typography for the TRF. They also included in the kit a sheet with all the 54 drivers who got this car. There are some Belgian drivers like Rudy Neix, other very famous drivers as well. They had black versions, white versions of the decals, and they also made an instruction manual for the car, a special one. And you see that this isn't the quality we're used of Tamiya. It was a photocopy of all the different parts you could assemble, but the kit itself was really great. It was a fantastic kit, and I will show you what it looks like. So this is basically one of the hardest cars to find. If you see, it has a serial number and it has number 1. So it's the very first Trf211x ever made. People say there was also a Trf211x, but to my knowledge, I haven't seen any pictures of it. If you open the box, the packaging is quite normal, but you've got this plastic bag of RC Valhalla. You see all the great things in here. You see the aluminium high cap dampers, you see titanium screws, special spring sets for the dampers. The parts for the plastic parts, they have the same quality, the same feel to them. The wheels that are included are special pink ones. This is also quite neat. Something I discovered, the tires for the car. And there is also a little badge, a Tamiya badge included. So it's really uber cool. The body shell itself, unpainted of course. It looks a bit like a Dynastorm body shell, but it has no holes in there. So it's very special. The cover for the slipper, the gears of course, and it featured a double deck carbon chassis, which was part number C. So what we are gonna do, we are gonna inventorize everything with the RC Racer, make a scan of the decals, make a scan of the manual, and put it online so you can have a look at it. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Bye.